Good evening. My name is Donna Baranier, and I am a grief counselor and a grief coach through our Sacred Journeys. I'm also very grateful to be working in hospice as a hospice chaplain and a grief counselor. And I wanted to talk to you to see what's been going on in our world, how the changes due to COVID might be eliciting a grief response for us, and how we can maybe take care of ourselves during this time, give some suggestions, some ideas that might give you some idea on how to cope right now. What we're going through right now are uncertain times. We have never ever experienced this time before, and I have no idea what the future will hold, but what I can say is that in the moment right now, what we have the potential to experience is what we call the grief response. And anytime we are experiencing the death of a loved one or a change of some kind that we are struggling with, it could be the loss of a job, loss of our freedoms, loss of a hope or a dream or an expectation. Any of those experiences can elicit what we call the grief response. And right now we are in a moment of so much change and have that potential to have a grief response. And by grief response, I'm talking about anxiety or uncertainty or irritability or anxiousness or a fear of what the future holds, what might be happening for all of us. I know some of the changes we've been experiencing might seem minor, while others seem to be overwhelming. We might have walked through the journey of COVID with a friend or a family member. We might have experienced the death of a loved one due to COVID, or known someone who has had that experience, so we are there for them. I know for me, in my world, I'm grateful, very grateful to be working full time, and things have changed. I work remotely now, which means I don't see my coworkers every day like I'm used to doing. I don't have the interaction with my team, with my staff members, with my families to the degree that I might have had in the past. So there's been a sense of loss there and a sense of feelings of separation. And that can elicit the grief response, that I'm not getting that opportunity to be with my coworkers to the degree that I'm used to. We can't go to lunch. We can't check in on a break. We can't talk about a case in person. We're doing everything by electronically, phone, Zoom, email, whatever mode works for us in that moment. And that can be a grief response as well. I know that I'm not able to see my congregants as much as I'm used to. I don't get to see them on Sundays. I'm on Zoom, just like many of us are. I am talking to them on the phone or on email or making Zoom appointments. It's a variety of things that we've shifted to meet the needs of everybody, including ourselves, and at the same time have had this change. Maybe we've walked through this experience of not being able to visit loved ones in facilities. We might have a family member that's in a care facility and now we can't see them. Quarantine and self-isolation, and that can be hard. That can be overwhelming and sad. And especially if our loved one has a dementia or Alzheimer's, where they don't understand why we can't visit, or we're concerned that maybe we won't get to see them if something were to happen to them. Because if they're in a care facility or if they're older or have a health challenge, we don't know what the future brings. And not being able to see them and talk to them on a regular basis can bring up feelings of loss, feelings of grief, feelings of anxiety or anxiousness. And I wanted to honor that and make mention of that tonight as well, because I think we tend to forget that. We might have had changes in our education where we used to be in class or in labs out in the field, where now everything is done online, remotely, through Zoom, and it can feel like we're not getting that opportunity to interact with our instructors, our professors, other students, other classmates, and it's not the same. So I just want to acknowledge that while we are coping and we are adjusting, we might have that sense of loss, and to give ourselves permission to feel that. to really feel how we're feeling. But I also want us to remember that there is a resiliency within us that I truly believe is there, that there is something within us that gives us the courage and the strength to keep going. Whether it's we are finding new ways to connect with our loved ones, or we're finding a new way to shift our attitude or our thinking, or whatever might be going on, I truly, truly believe that we have that within us to continue to move forward. Always, always important to acknowledge how we're feeling, reach out to a trusted friend or a therapist or a counselor or someone from your faith community, whomever it might be, for that added support. Self-care during the grieving process is very, very important. And by self-care, I'm talking about something that brings comfort to us, that recharges our batteries. Maybe it's taking a bubble bath, or going for a walk, or maybe increasing our meditation time, sitting down in the evening with some or listening to music, journaling, reading. I know I love Audible. I love to read. I have a Kindle. I have Audible. I have Amazon. I look forward to having an opportunity to read. And that's one of the ways that I cope, is reading. I also like to talk to friends. If you have a spiritual practice, manage your spiritual practice. Maybe you have an opportunity to increase it, or try something new. Eat healthy. Maybe we have time to make new recipes, and there might have been a recipe you're really, really wanting to try. Now you might have some time to do that. I encourage you to meet with a friend or family member. You can Zoom cooking together over social media. That would be kind of fun to do. Like, I know they do Zoom book studies and Zoom social distancing, and have each other in your own kitchens and cook together, and you're having a conversation while you're cooking. That might be kind of fun. There's a variety of ways that we can look for ways to take care of ourselves in the grieving process, and I really, really want to encourage us to do that if we are feeling called to do that. This time is uncertain, like I was saying. That doesn't mean we don't have some control over what is happening in our world. Carl Jung says, it's not what happened to me, it's who I chose to become. So even in these moments of uncertainty and fears and concerns for our world and our future and our loved ones, we still have the choice on how we're going to respond. We still have the choice as to our attitude. We still have the choice on what it is that I want to do. Maybe there's something percolating within you that you've always wanted to try, you weren't sure. Maybe this is a time to test those waters, or put together a plan, or journal about it, or talk to a trusted friend. Even while we're physically distancing, or social distancing, which I think physical distancing is more of a appropriate description, because we're not social if we're still able to connect in some way. Oh, and another way of self-care is our pets. I have Rocky and Lucy and Kaylee here tonight, and they are definitely a source of love and support, and they keep me on my toes. So if you think about our pets as a source of self-care, that's also important to think about. I just wanted to spend some time this evening mentioning and calling attention to what's been happening in our world, so we have an opportunity to acknowledge what's going on. Acknowledge it, and acknowledge is power. So if I can acknowledge how I'm feeling, acknowledge what's happening in my world, I then might feel more powerful over having some control over how I respond to it. And coming from a place of resiliency, a place of love, a place of compassion is where I'm choosing to come from in this time. Because I do believe that there is compassion that is flowing through our world right now. We might not be able to see it or sense it, but I know it's there. I'm choosing to come from that space tonight and in every day. I encourage you to do the same. Thank you for being here this evening. You can reach me at revdonnab@gmail.com or at oursacredjourneys.net. Take care till we speak again.